Hello my dear YouTuber friends, and I do hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to this new video, and just like the Holtas one on the Series S and X, with the Velocity one, sensitivities are also saving. So in this video, I'm going to show you my sensitivities I've got set for my Velocity one on my Series S, and then we'll go for a test flight and tell you why I've set the sensitivities so. So let's not dilly-dally, let's get into the video. So I'm flying around London City as per usual. And I'll get straight to my sensitivities. Before I do, let me know your thoughts on the new intro. Two of my dearest and closest YouTube friends and Discord friends, Dark GT and Aces Down 1. I'm going to link their channels down below. They created the videos for that. I just put the sound on it. Let me know your thoughts. I thought I would try something more mellow and more suitable for my more mature viewers, let's just say. Let's get straight to the settings. So we'll go to Options, Control Options. And I've got the Velocity one set up. I've got my Autopilot profile set up. I'll link the video I did on that on my Velocity one. And sensitivities. Now, these do save. I've shut my Xbox down a number of times, and these sensitivities have saved. Now, there's quite a lot of sensitivities with the Holtas one. A lot of these, let's just come out of that, are to do with the throttle. So where my cursor is, it's the throttle quadrant. So these GA levers. Oh, photogrammetry issue again, would you believe? The GA levers and the top levers here. So a lot of these correspond to them. So we're not going to worry about a lot of them. There's about 4 of them that I've set. So for example, Axis 1 is my top left lever. And if we go down, a lot of these correspond to the other levers and GA levers and goodness knows what. Like I said, I'm just going to concentrate on the ones I've set. So the first one I've set is Axis 2. That's your rudder axis. And I've set them similar to the Holtas one to -25 in the minus and plus sensitivities. These seem to suit. You can give this a try. -25 in both the minus and plus sensitivities for the rudder axis. That's Axis 2. That seems to work well. Axis 3 is your pitch axis. Like the Holtas one, I've been a bit more liberal and I've put a bit more sensitivity, minus sensitivity, in the pitch axis. That's because when you're coming into flare and goodness knows what and you're pitching, you don't want it to be too sensitive. It's going to be your own preference on how you like to set this. But for me, -42 in the minus and plus sensitivities on Axis 3, the pitch axis, seems to work well for me, and I'm going to show you that later. Another one I've set up is Axis 4, which is your aileron, your banking axis. Now for me, funny number, but -29%. -29% in the minus and plus sensitivities seems to work well, and it just seems smooth and not jerky and less sensitive with those settings. Give them a try. I'll just pause it there for you. So you can copy them, Axis 2, 3 and 4 if you want to, and then you can play around with them more. Once again, setting reactivity seems not to save, and if you're not careful, it will reset all your sensitivity settings. Don't really need it. It would be nice to put a bit of reactivity in there, maybe in a later patch. So there you go, those Axis 2, 3, 4. The only other axis I've set up, like I said, I've left all the throttle levers. I don't feel I need to do anything with them. Is Axis 11. Now that's your trim wheel axis. It's quite sensitive on the Velocity one. I don't know if that's a confliction or something. Sometimes it can just go, especially when you take it off autopilot. If you touch it, then you're either suddenly trimming way too high or way too low. I don't know what's going on there. But I found altering the sensitivity on axis 11 to minus 16% in the minus and plus sensitivities seems to work well with the trim wheel. So that's the trim wheel, axis 11, minus 16%. Again, play around with it to where it suits you. You can put more sensitivity in there if you still feel it's too sensitive. For me, that just feels right. So there you go. Those are my main sensitivities set up. What we'll do now is get back into the sim and go for a test flight. Okie doke, at a very noisy and lively London City Airport, runway 27. Lots of people on Saturday morning. Likely to get a few photogrammetry warnings because of that. Let's just... oof, look how busy the place is. Let's just jump into the cockpit. I'm going to throttle up a little bit and release the parking brakes. We'll give our rudder settings with the new sensitivity, our rudders, a quick warm-up, shall we? So there we go. A little bit faster. A little bit quicker. And now the rudders... oh, big jumbo jet in front of me. There you go. Good excuse to use the rudder. Let's get on the grass here. The rudders are adaptive on the Velocity 1, of course. Velocity 1 flight. So the longer you hold them down, the quicker you'll turn. And bank... quicker you'll turn on the ground, taxi on the ground. Yeah, but the rudders, with those sensitivities, just feel a little bit more refined, a little bit smoother. Lovely, in fact. Especially because the triggers are adaptive. I'll tell you what. Let's not hold up the aircraft behind me, but I don't think that's paying any attention anyway. Let's throttle up. Rarely see it so lively. Lots of people on. It's great to see people are still enjoying Flight Sim so much. Oops. Went a little bit high there. Let's just give our trim wheel a quick go there. It's my mistake. I just pulled back too sharply on the yoke there. But there we go. Good chance to use the trim wheel. With the sensitivity settings with the trim wheel. Doesn't feel oversensitive. It's always felt good, but now it just feels, once again, a little bit more refined, the trim wheel, with a little bit of sensitivity put in there. And the good thing is it now saves, so it's now set and forget, which is fantastic. Banking left and right. Very smooth. Always nice to do with the Velocity 1, with a little bit of sensitivity, bespoke sensitivity put in there now. There's a photogrammetry warning. Let me just grab my controller and ignore that. Knew I was going to get that. Even though I've actually flown around here a few times just to test the settings. Never mind. I knew I was going to get photogrammetry warnings. Banking left or right just feels more refined. Pitching. Let's just throttle back a little bit so I'm not over revving the engine. Pitching up and down. Again, doesn't feel oversensitive, just feels very yoke-like, thankfully. And much more refined. Much smoother. What isn't smoother is that horrible, horrible rendering issues I'm having there. My goodness me. There's London for you in Flight Sim currently. Not typically as bad as that. Typically they'll render in a lot better. I just think the servers... overstressed at the moment. Oh dear, dear, dear. Couple of issues still with Flight Sim in that respect, especially over these busy cities. London's one of the more popular places to fly around. Probably the most popular place in England to fly around. Right, let's just do a quick turn back onto the London City approach. So landing in the opposite direction we took off. Oh, let's just feed in a bit of rudder while I'm turning there. Can I get that more balanced? There we are. That's better. And we'll just... let's just trim up a little bit so I don't crash into these buildings as well. No issues now. Yeah, it just all feels more refined generally. It's well worth giving these settings a go if you haven't set your own up, or you're having difficulties with your own. And then you can refine them as you go. Let's throttle way back here, beyond 1900 RPM, and trim up with the trim wheel. Ah, lovely. Brings it on par. kind of with the PC experience now. Look how many aircraft there are. It's not, we don't have the backlight feature, the SIP light feature on the Xbox as yet. Aside from that, very, very close now to the PC experience with those sensitivity settings. Come on, speed, I need to get down a little bit more. That will do for flaps. Stage 1 flaps. Yep, they're set. Yeah, very close to the PC experience. That's just nice now, isn't it? We can set these sensitivities, set them and forget them, which is great. Set them to where it feels the most refined to yourself. It's a good approach to the airport, so I'll keep it there. Maybe a little bit more throttle. Should we go to stage 2 flaps? Just trim to compensate. Yeah, it all comes together nicely now. Always was nice to use, but it just feels that little bit more refined, which is great. Let's just keep that approach going. Play with my throttle to descend or climb. So in this case, increasing it. I'm coming down a little bit too quickly. Let's land towards the threshold of the runway because the taxiways are just beyond that. That should be fine. Off the center line again, but that's my mistake. Right, let's just flare. Oop, don't over flare. There we go. Flare, flare, flare. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Smooth as silk there. So no issues. The sensitivity settings do help with that as well. Let's just keep moving. Bring my flaps up. And we can come off and give those rudder settings another go. On this next turning. Just brake a little bit there. A little bit more. There we go. Full rudder there, full deflection just to help us get us round. And let's pop outside and we can go and park this thing up. So whilst I'm doing that, if these sensitivity settings have been useful to you or you're not sure what to set them to, give these a try. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more, many more flight simulator videos on their way. Let's just fully park up. Oh, you know what? That's fine. And I'll see you very soon.